These 7 habits will melt your belly fat. I've worked with hundreds of dads over the last 12 years, and most of them got staggering results after they made this shift. They went from feeling heavy all the time to energetic and active again. Old clothes started fitting, they increased their confidence, and they finally started recognizing themselves in the mirror again. In this video, I'm going to share these habits with you so you can be active in their lives, play with them when they're young, see them graduate, go off to college, and then get married and have kids of their own. Because without fixing your daily habits, you're 9 times more likely to suffer a severe heart failure or some other health issue in your future. These 7 habits are not theoretical. They are tested with busy dads, busy schedules, regular lives just like you, specifically designed to target belly fat and increase your energy. Habit 1 is to prioritize protein. This is specifically for energy and muscle preservation. Now look, I'm not telling you that you got to pound protein shakes all day, though protein shake can be a great way to get your protein in. But listen to the science here. After 40, you're losing a percentage of your muscle per decade. It's around 3 to 8% depending on your genetics. And less muscle means slower metabolism, which means that belly fat gets harder and harder to lose as you get older. But here's the coolest part. Adequate protein doesn't only preserve that muscle that you would otherwise be losing, but it actually increases the thermic effect of food by up to 30%. As for how much, here's an easy way to think about it. 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So let's say you weigh 250 pounds, but you know that you feel your best at 180 pounds. Go off that number. So 180 grams of protein per day broken up throughout the course of the day. And I'd ideally like you to get the 30 to 40 grams first thing in the morning, but I'm not going to be a stickler here. If you're getting the 180 grams, again, in that example, then you're going to be set. Now, I work with a lot of busy parents, and they tell me that they don't want to have a whole full breakfast first thing in the morning. That's totally fine. An easy tip that I give them is to have a protein smoothie instead. It's something that is really quick and gets you that protein first thing in the morning so you have a good start to your day. For men, I'd ideally like you to have 40 grams as that first meal. For women, it's closer to 30 or 35. If you look at a typical American breakfast, you're having what? A bagel or a piece of toast, 2 eggs, maybe some bacon. You're getting 10, 15 grams of protein at most. And then you're wondering why you're hungry the rest of the day. So if you enjoy having a full meal for breakfast, I would recommend yogurt or eggs mixed with egg whites so you're getting that protein intake up a little bit more. Habit 2, eat more fiber. This has got to be one of the most underrated fat loss tools out there. Fiber helps to control your hunger because it keeps you more satiated, and it's fantastic for your gut health. Studies show us that every gram of fiber you eat, you negate about 7 calories from being absorbed. And for some quick, easy math, that means that if you have 10 grams of fiber in your meal, that's 70 calories that isn't being absorbed. In fact, most of you are probably getting 10 to 15 a day when you really should be aiming for 35 to 40. Here's a really easy change to add more fiber to your diet. Incorporate a vegetable with every meal and switch your fruit juices to whole fruits. And when you look at your whole plate, make sure you're finishing your vegetables before your other carbohydrate and fat sources. The third habit is going to be taking walks after your meals. Now, I know this can't be done with every single meal, but at least for dinner, I want you to remember this: fat loss and family time, both crucial for a healthy dad. I know this sounds so simple, but even just a 10 to 15 minute walk after a meal can improve your blood sugar regulation by up to 30%. Here's what this means. Better blood sugar control means less insulin in your bloodstream. Now, insulin isn't bad. Your body needs it. But in this case, less insulin means your body can access stored fat for fuel instead of storing more. And think about it. You going out for a walk with your family is modeling that healthy behavior that you want your kids to adopt. What do you think will be better for their lives? To sit down on the couch and watch TV, or get up, walk around, and use some of that energy that they have all stored up? Because I know you know kids have an insane amount of energy, right? We can never keep up with them. Well, this is going to be a good way for them to exercise that and for you to get some added family bonus time. Here's the power of this habit. One of my clients did this, and that was the only thing I could get him to change at first. He did 15 to 30 minute walks every single day with his dog, not with his kids. But still, he lost 15 pounds over the course of 2.5 months. He called it Tucker time because his dog's name is Tucker. And he would message me almost every day, got my Tucker time in, and I'm telling you, it made such a difference. Our fourth habit, and again, this is going to make such a huge difference, even if you just do this one thing, and that is cutting out caloric beverages. Yes, that means beer, coffee with sugar and creamer in it, and your sodas. Look, I know this one hurts, and I'm not saying you can never have a beer or grab a soda at a party, barbecue, something that you're going to, but even if you just have a couple beers after work or a soda or two a day, you're talking 300 to 400 calories added to your diet. And that's empty calories, meaning they're providing you no nutritional value. It's just stored fat, and it goes right to your midsection. Believe it or not, those fancy coffee drinks or cocktails have more sugar than most candy bars. Not to mention, you're gonna spike your blood sugar like crazy. It's gonna be a roller coaster, and your body's not gonna know what to do, which makes fat loss nearly impossible. So here's a practical tip you can take away from this. I'm not saying cut out everything. I had a client who was a pretty big drinker, honestly. And so we did the 3-2-1 approach, meaning one day a week he could have 3 drinks, the next day he could have 2, and then one of the days he could have 1. Now you might be saying, Neil, that's still 6 drinks of alcohol. Yes, but when you go from having 4 to 5 a day down to 6 a week, that's going to cut your caloric intake down by almost 1,000 calories. And we're talking about somebody who was already working out consistently. As a result of just that change, he lost 2 notches on his belt buckle within 3 weeks. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd say that was a pretty worthwhile change. Habit number 5. Look at me. Go to bed. My goodness, go to sleep. This is something that I feel like people are finally picking up the importance of a little bit, but still, it is vastly underrated how important sleep is for fat loss, energy balance, overall mood, so many things. It's so important. There, did I stress it enough? All right, now we can talk about it. 7 to 8 hours of sleep minimum. No excuses. If you get less than this, your testosterone, yes, your testosterone is going to drop by 15% the next day. Now, testosterone is great for many reasons, and I'm sure you're aware of some, but one of them is increasing fat loss. Because when your testosterone is too low, you actually decrease your metabolic rate, which means your fat storage increases. Not only that, but you have less energy to make good decisions about food, and your hunger and fullness cues aren't on point, which means it's harder for you to tell when you're hungry and when you're full. This often will cause people to overeat. But it gets worse. Poor sleep also increases your cortisol levels, which means that your storage of belly fat also increases. Now, I want to be clear, cortisol isn't the enemy. Our body needs it. It's good for the peaks and valleys. But when you don't get good sleep, it is going to be at a higher rate for the whole day, not the normal peak and valley that it should be in order to give your body the natural metabolism that you want. Now, I could do a whole video on sleep and the habits that I give my clients. So if you want that, let me know in the comments and I'll make it. But here's a quick, easy checklist you can do. Create a bedtime routine, just like you have a morning routine. That means 1 to 2 hours before bed, you're doing the same thing every night, as much as you possibly can anyways. And I know sleep is a big subject. Like I said, we could talk about a lot of things. But here's the 2 that I want you to focus on the most. Getting enough and having them be around the same sleep and wake times, meaning you're going to bed and you're waking up around the same time every day, as much as possible. A great tip for this is to set a bedtime alarm. Again, just like you'd have a morning alarm, set a bedtime alarm so you know, okay, at this time, I have to start winding down for bed. Start your routine, brush your teeth, take a shower, whatever it may look like for you. This will help your body get into the rhythm of falling asleep at the same time every day, which is going to help you get the quantity that you need as well. Now, one last thing with sleep before we move on to habit 6. If you're not getting that 7 to 8 hours a night, naps do help. If you're someone who can take a 10, 20-minute nap, that actually does help. So if that is a secondary option or a solution, then I'd say go ahead and do that. Habit 6, strength train. Now, before you click off and say you don't have time, you're way too busy, I get it. You don't have 2 hours to spend in the gym. I'm talking about 30 to 45 minutes, 2 times a week. Now, eventually, yes, we want to work more time in, but at the start, this is all you need to start seeing those results and building that habit. Research has shown us over and over again through multiple studies that strength training or resistance training in general is the best way to kill belly fat while maintaining or building muscle. So if you're a dad who wants to keep up with your kids, throw the football around, run around chasing them up the stairs, and not feel exhausted right afterwards, it's not just about cardio. It's about strength training too. You need to put your body and train your body in those specific positions so that it doesn't end up with an injury later on. And there's really no minimum here when it comes to building a habit. You could start off with 5 minutes 3 times a day. Just get into the habit of setting time, blocking it off on your schedule, on your calendar to go into the gym. And if you have a home gym, this is where it'll really pay off, right? Because it's right there. So going into your gym and getting some kind of strength training in, build that into your schedule, and then slowly but surely increase the time. Like I said, I think that 30 to 45 minutes 2 times a week is a great starting point and something that everyone can do if you make it a priority. And I'll even show you in the next video the 6 exercises that you need to master in order to really see these benefits in the most time-efficient manner. Now, habit number 7. This is going to tie it all together. Plan ahead. Workouts, meals, increased sleep, no matter what it is that you're trying to change, it's not going to happen unless you plan for it. Planning is the key thing that separates those who succeed from those who fail. I talked about this briefly before, but my favorite way to do this is to actually block off time on my calendar. So my workouts are now meetings with myself. If I need to get food from the grocery store because I need to prep whatever, then that is also blocked off in my calendar. Maybe I do it when going from one meeting to another. I'll have the grocery visit in there. And getting more sleep, that's something that I plan into my calendar. I have a bedtime alarm. And if you really care about your sleep, you will too. You don't have to know exactly what your workout's going to be or exactly what you're going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But if you have the right ingredients, the right raw materials, so to speak, then you can create those things as you go. Now, for some people, it does help to have a plan ahead of what they're going to eat, but you don't necessarily need to in order to be successful. If you're someone who goes to a workplace every day, then one small implementation of this habit that has helped a lot of dads that I know is to make enough dinner the night before so that you have your lunch the next day. And so long as your dinner was solid, you have your vegetable, your protein, and your good fat, then you know your lunch the next day is also going to be another solid meal. So there you have it, your 7 science-backed habits that will actually make a difference. Look, I'm not telling you you need to overhaul your whole life and do all 7 in order to see a change. Remember, even just 1 can make a big difference. So my recommendation is start with 1 to 2 easy, simple habits that you can commit to. Then in 3 to 4 weeks, after you've mastered those, if you want to add another one, that's just going to be even more beneficial. Now, if you're thinking, this is really going to help, but what do I do about the exercise part? Well, I've got you covered. I made a video about the top 6 exercises that I would incorporate in any program, and you could check that out right here. And spoiler alert, none of them are crunches or sit-ups. But tell me, because I'm curious, which one are you going to try? Let me know in the comments down below. I can't wait to hear how just 1 or 2 of these habits is going to change your life. I'll see you in the next video.